Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Greg Glover in for David Carroll.
And I'm Cindy Sexton. The man convicted of murdering Jasmine Pace is requesting a new trial and now has a court date. Jason Chen will appear in court April 11th. He killed Pace in November of 2022 and is serving his life in prison without parole sentence in Bledsoe County.
When jurors begin deliberations in a trial, many times it takes hours or days for the 12 people to make their decisions.
Well, it took the jury this time 45 minutes to convict Jason Chen of first-degree murder and abuse of a corpse. Grayson Gordon has more from a juror on what happened behind the doors and how she spent her time when she was sequestered.
16 Davidson County residents uprooted their lives to travel to Chattanooga and serve as jurors. They were sequestered due to the magnitude of public attention and media coverage of Jason Chen and Jasmine Pace. Juror number 11, Sarah Reed, says they could not have their phones or even watch television.
How much time we spend in our phones really becomes evident when you're face to face with a group of people you've never met, and you're kind of forced to just get to know each other.
Jurors were given one 5-minute call back home every night, but were prohibited from talking about the trial to anyone, including each other.
We're getting fed, like you said, hours of information, so much information. You kind of just have to store that away until the end of, the trial when it's time to discuss.
The goal of the prosecutors, DA Cody Womp and Chief Homicide Prosecutor Paul Moyle, flipped from proving Chen killed Jasmine to proving premeditation, which is required for a first-degree murder conviction.
We already knew he murdered her. They said he did. We already knew he abused a corpse. They said he did. And so that wasn't even a question for us. What it came down to was, did he premeditate to do, was this planned?
7 days were spent in the courtroom hearing the facts of the case before the jury was sent back to deliberate.
We had all this evidence, we have all this explanation, and the facts are there, but there's still the decision to be made, and that's obviously what the whole thing was hinging on.
The jurors spent 45 minutes deliberating before coming to their decision, guilty of first-degree murder and abuse of a corpse, a very short period of time.
Should we talk more about it, and even so much, we were supposed to flick the light on when we're ready, and I remember the bailiff came in and was like, I see you guys put the light on, did you mean to? And we're like, yeah. It
is up to the group of 12 to determine if he could be eligible for parole after 51 years. Members of Jasmine's family, including her sister, father, and cousin, testified at the sentencing hearing.
I think her family fought so hard and looked so hard and did such a good job. They were a key element.
Jurors deliberated almost an hour to determine Chen's sentence. Reed says watching Chen's mother on the stand was impactful, but ultimately they came to the decision that he should never be eligible for parole.
Jasmine's family doesn't get to see Jasmine in 51 years like Jason's could, and that just isn't fair. That is not justice.
Reed says the details of Jasmine's murder were gruesome, and she is still working to cope with what happened. A way she is working on that is releasing a podcast called Sequestered, a juror's perspective of the murder trial for Jasmine Pace.
I feel like I could bring the perspective from the jury box, if you will, and then the added layer of being sequestered and kind of pulled from my life for a week and a half to serve on this was an honor.
Reed took advice from General Womp, putting Jasmine in the spotlight with the name.
I said it that way because of what Cody Womp said in her closing statements. This is the trial for Jasmine Pace, and I want it to be about her.
We spoke to General Womp, who is supportive of what Reed is doing.
We've got to focus more on victims and less on criminal defendants, and that is what she is doing with this podcast. And so my message at least struck her, and I appreciate that, and I can't wait to listen to the podcast. I'm excited about it.
The first episode is scheduled to air Monday. Reporting in Hamilton County, Grayson Gordon, Local 3 News.